Well, here is, I'll try and make a quick video on 95 M3 coupe fuel lines. So obviously the tank's in the back. You got some rubber 5/16 hosing that goes to these straight plastic lines that run all the way underneath the car. And then you've got two 5/16 rubber sections and one with a fuel filter in the middle of there. So about a month ago, I started dumping gas back there, crawled underneath the car, and there were tears on these little rubber lines right before the straight plastic lines. So that was easy. I actually had to go up into the car and into the sending unit and into the fuel pump. That was actually kind of a pain. There's these skinny little blue rubber lines that kind of go in between the two units. You don't have to reorder those. I don't know what they're there for. Just take 5/16 and just shove it all the way through and hook up your two units with 5/16 there. So anyways, a few days ago, started dumping fuel underneath here. I looked underneath the car and it was just dripping off the oil pan. I couldn't tell if it was from here or from there. These lines were old. The fuel filter was old. I hadn't replaced it since I did the clutch on this thing, 10 years ago. So I took, a couple days or a day and a half, replaced those, turned the car on, still leaking fuel. I wiped up this side of the motor and there was no fuel coming down this side. It almost looked like it was coming down on that side. So since your fuel lines run there and there's no fuel lines over here, the only thing it could have been fuel wise, obviously it was gasoline. I was, smelling it and seeing it. Could have been from the fuel rail. So I just got this thing all put back together, semi put back together, but there's a fuel, let's see if I can get a good shot here. Your fuel pressure regulator right underneath there. Obviously that nipple and that fuel line goes to the fuel rail, but just underneath there, it's like that right there, that unit right there. That's the last injector right there, and then there's that fuel pressure regulator. There's a line that goes from here down underneath the intake manifold, and then it hooks up to here. So I got new rubber here, and then I've got a hard plastic line that goes underneath the intake manifold, and then a little short section right there that goes to that nipple. And then right underneath there is the fuel pressure regulator. So when I took this thing off, it was caked in white stuff. And, I know buddy told me white's usually coolant, but there's no coolants coming out of there. It's fuel. So he says, it's a yellow mark. It could be like a really light yellow, but obviously it was pooled up in that wall there and all over the place. So I'm really hoping it was the line. So here's, I believe, the culprit. So I can get some good lighting on this thing. Let's see here. See that crack, that split? That's on the inner wall. And this thing is hard rubber. And it was going to that nipple, and I think it was just spraying out. And it wasn't holding. And I hate these fuel clamps too. Nothing beats a good old just clamp, man, and just twist it on there and make sure it's nice new rubber, and then it'll be fine. So I haven't started it up yet, but about to, and that should do it. Stay tuned.